Well, thank you all for being here, and also thank you for inviting me to do this presentation. I'm really glad to be here because I love what I do. I really put my whole heart and soul into this job, and I also want to apologize in advance because any mistake I could make in English, I don't know why I decided to do this presentation in English. I guess there's always a first time for everything. There you go, this is my first time. I'm from Argentina, and there's no reason for this presentation in English, but there you go. Okay, talking about dealing with your emotions, this is an interesting moment for me. I'm pretty nervous, but never mind. Let's go. Okay, I'm going to talk about emotional education, and I'll start defining it. It's an educational strategy to improve the lifestyle from the development of social-emotional abilities. And I said it is an educational strategy. It's not therapeutic, it's educational. The main idea is to develop these emotional abilities in people so they learn how to recognize, express, and deal with their emotions. We work with these 5 foundations, 5 pillars, and it all starts with the children's emotional education. Our idea is to teach them how to recognize, express, and deal with the emotions, with their emotions. And in order to do so, we want to create a space in schools as they have math, geography, history, a space we call emotional education, a time when they can have an opportunity to express what they feel. But more than 10 years ago, when I started with this job, we really love. I worked with children and also teaching the teachers how to apply the techniques of emotional education. Those were really beautiful years. We enjoyed a lot. We learned a lot. But there was a moment when the teacher said to me, "Hey Lucas, you know what? Children love it. We believe it's great, but children are not the problem. The problem are the parents. You call because you want to talk with them, they don't go, and also the children don't get a coherent message because in the emotional education class we are teaching them how to deal with the anger or sadness and anxiety, and when they go home they see their parents shouting, fighting, and so on. So it's very important. I'm a systemic therapist, so I know I need to work with the family also in order to do better changes. So I realized I needed to work with their parents. So we start working with a school for parents of emotional education. And teaching them how to deal with their emotions, also how to put healthy limits on their children, and the emotional nutrition, something that I will talk about later. And we really enjoyed, and there was a third time when teacher said to me, Lucas, children love it, the parents are agree with it, really believe it is important, but you know what? We feel like we are the problem. Some teachers said to me, I'm totally insane, I'm crazy. When I go to the school, it's like I'm out of my mind. And I don't want to offend the teachers, but that is true. Yeah, because being a teacher in these days is a really hard thing. See, if children don't respect their parents, they will respect even less their teachers. We are suffering as a society in this day a syndrome that is called the Little Emperor Syndrome. I don't know if you are familiar with that. Little Emperor Syndrome, which means little emperors that demand to their parents, oblige their parents to do whatever they want, to give them whatever they want. So for parents it's really hard, and it's more for teachers. And besides this, nobody can give what they don't have. So if you are a teacher and you are doing emotional education, you must know how to deal and express in a healthy way your emotions. So when I go to the school, the first thing I do is to teach the teachers how to deal with their emotions, give them emotional abilities, because it's really important. And also that is what makes the difference in the education. In the education, there have been many researches about what is the important thing. They measure the lights, they measure the buildings, they measure how the techniques, the technology influence in the process of education to see what is really important. And of course, all those things influence, but the most important thing is how is the teacher. If the teacher loves what he does, if the teacher puts his or her heart in the job, you know, that's the most important thing. So we really need teachers that are really involved with the teaching process. And then there was a fourth moment when teacher said to me, Lucas, children are okay, they really like emotional education, parents too. I am feeling well in these days, I'm okay, but the problem is the team. When I go to the school, the interpersonal relationships is kind of bad vibes, bad energy, negative energy. It's like everybody gossips about somebody else, and also nobody supports you. You know, they feel like it's something is wrong, and you can identify what the problem is. It is something I call the snake nest syndrome. When you go to school, it's like many snakes, and they don't relate in a good way. Yeah, it's a reality. That is, so we need to teach the teachers how to relate and also how to work as a team in the organization. And besides this, we have the educational politics, which affects in a macro level. As we all know, these politics, the educational politics are focused on the information, only on giving information, and that is absolutely obsolete. We need to develop emotional abilities, because in these days with a cell phone it's easy for everybody to access to a lot of information. So we believe, I want to affect in this level through the emotional education law. That's my idea in my foundation, to try to have an emotional education law, so every school has an opportunity to work in this in this aspect. Well, now I'm gonna go over a little bit of these foundations. I'm gonna talk about a little bit about it. So, talking about the emotional education for teachers, I just want to say we all have good days and bad days. We all have days in which we feel we can do everything right, and days in which we feel we cannot do anything. You know, and that's why we are in creative mode or defensive mode. You put yourself in creative mode every time you feel pleasant emotions, and you put yourself in defensive mode when you feel unpleasant emotion. And the trick here is that every time you feel an unpleasant emotion, you activate your sympathetic system. And every time you activate your sympathetic system, you activate a response that is something that prepares you to run or defend yourself, but will decrease the parasympathetic system. You know what I'm talking about, right? And parasympathetic system is the one that controls the memory, the sleep cycles, the sexual activities, sexual system, and digestive system, immune system, regeneration, cell regeneration. We're gonna do a test here. Raise your hand, the one who was able to fall asleep while you were very angry. Who was able to fall asleep while you were very angry? You.
You won.
From what planet are you?
That is actually a good question.
What? Without pills, right?
Yeah, without pills, yeah.
No medicine.
There's another guy there. Oh,
Yeah, the same
I think I wasn't the
planet.
only one though.
You are able to fall asleep while you are angry.
It actually called me.
What?
It actually called me.
I don't get what he's saying because I don't understand English. Never mind. All right. Let's go. Let's see this. Who was able to understand or be able to study while you were very anxious? You again? No. Very few people still is not important. Who was able to have sex while you were very angry? Difficult one. Girl says, don't even touch me. Yeah, and also if you are stressed for 2 weeks, you'll become sick for sure because your immune system is not working at all or well. Decreases. So I just wanted to show you that the emotion has a huge impact in your performance. If you find what you love, you do what you love, you feel well, and your performance will be great. But if you are incoherent with yourself, you are doing something you don't like, but you still oblige yourself to be there, or oblige yourself to be with a person you don't love, at some point you'll get sick, and emotions are like signals that are telling you here is not your way, you know. So it's important to consider the emotions in our life, and that is something really important to teach the teachers because they are the first step in this strategy. Then we have here. School for Parents, and as I told you, I work with them how to put healthy limits on their children. Is very important because, as I also told you, we are suffering this little emperor syndrome, and this the problem is not when they are children; is when they get into the adolescence. It is very hard to put limits, and they respect nobody. Then I also work the emotional nutrition, which is very important because that will give the opportunity to the children to have a healthy self-esteem, which is really important. So the basis is love. And you'll say, hey Lucas, every parent knows that love is important, but that's not true. In many places, many areas, they don't really love, they don't say, I love you, you are great. And that's what, as a human being, we really need. Then free play, limits, some frustrations are good, some others are really bad. So what kind of frustration children need? Also duties and obligation. Nobody talks about that. Everybody talks about rights and rights and rights, but nobody talks about what they have to do. Empowering ideas, telling the children, hey, you are great, you'll do it, never mind, stand up. Everybody falls, you are fantastic, and so on. That is really important because children believe everything that their parents say. And sometimes when parents are angry, they say you are the worst, you won't do it, you are such an idiot, and they believe that. And the last thing is the pleasures. Of course, using cell phone, computers, iPads, it's important in enjoying life. But what we are seeing in these families now is that they give pleasures in the basis of this pyramid because they don't share time with their children, so they give things and they won't have a self-esteem. Well, and also we teach the parent how to deactivate temper tantrums, and also family life cycles are one of the things we work with parents, and they really love. Doing school for parents is not about the parents going every day to school. It's just 3 or 4 times a year when they go and have a workshop. And then talking about what we work with students in the classroom. Okay, so children's or students' emotional education. We got 2 ways of doing emotional education. In a vertical way, using the techniques. It requires a time and a space. We want to create a subject called emotional education, as we have history, math, geography, and so on, music. We need a place where to teach them the name of the emotion, so they are able to recognize the emotion in themselves and also to express it in an assertive way. And the other way to do it is in a transversal way, through the work modalities, and we do it combined with other subjects. So, for example, a math teacher can do emotional education all together, all combined. I'll show you here. For example, this is a kind of daily activities, just to give you an idea of what emotional education is like. So we give them breathing exercises and give them the opportunity to write down their emotions daily. For example, here we got an emotional diary. This guy put anger and in a 9 level on Monday, anger and 10 level on Tuesday, then on an 8 level on Thursday, on Friday 7, and then Saturday he feels happy, and the next day of Saturday is Sunday. Yeah. Just checking, you know. All right. But it's calmness, right? But what could be the problem here? Yeah, probably, right? Cool. What if we see a student that puts fears at night? Every night he feels fear. So it's the kind of information we got from what's going on with him, no? And a way to express. Well, I show you. This is an app we are developing. Oh, here a collage, emotional collage. While the children are drawing, we start a chat about what they feel, why they feel that way, and what can they do with it, how to deal or manage those emotions. You see here is what we work in many schools. There you go. See this one. I love this one. She said, the sadness is when you lose somebody you love, as I lost my grandfather. When she told us that everybody was paying attention and respecting what she was saying. You know, in emotional education classes, like a nice environment, and we know a little bit more about each other, which allows us to have a better relationship. And there you go. This is something that I wanted to show you, because this is an emotional education planification chart. It is just to give you an idea of how we plan an emotional education class. We got here 12 emotions plus 20 techniques and 26 work modalities. So in order to plan one class, you've got to pick one emotion, then one technique, and another work modality. So it gives you a really wide variety of options at the moment of planning an emotional education class. And as I told you, I'm working really hard in an emotional education law. And why we need a law? We need a law because it needs to be systemic. Helping one child is great. Helping one school is perfect. And helping 50 schools is fantastic. But we need to reach every school to make a real change. So it must be systemic. Also, it must be sustainable. It must be permanent. It's great if we work with one school 1 year, 2 years, but after that, what happens? So we need it to be permanent forever, so we can build a habit. And it must have a scientific basis. because there are a lot of people that talk about it, but they don't really know what they are talking about. So we need the science to go to the school and teach the teachers how to do it. It's a very simple technology. It's nothing hard or difficult. It's really simple, but there are some things we have to do and some others we don't. So it's quite, I don't know, delicate. And okay, so those are the reasons why we need a law. And let me tell you the benefits of it. It affects the entire population. That's something that is good. It affects the entire population. Parents, children, teachers, and in every school, so the entire population will get this technology. It is economic. Yes, it's really economic. 10 kilometers of a road costs more than teaching or doing emotional education in a whole province. It doesn't require building investment. It is based on the intelligent use of the existing resources. We already got everything to do it. The positive results have been scientifically proven. It is of easy and fast implementation. In a matter of 1 or 2 years, we can start doing emotional education in every school. And last year, I worked with the United Nations in Mexico. We worked with all the secondary schools through a connection, through internet. I gave them a presentation about the emotional education for teachers. And we reached like 4,000 schools in which were 60 or 50 or 60 teachers in every school. So there was a lot of people in one afternoon. It was really cheap. And I want to be about to finish with this. The interests that are threats to this law. Why this law probably won't be a reality. It is economic. But what Lucas is, economic is great, it's good. No, because nobody will become a millionaire from it. It's not useful for the disease market, the health insurance market, the insecurity market. The results are at medium and long-term period. So the politic wants to take a picture with what they did. So they are not really interested in this. The results of emotional education generate independence, autonomy, that tend to free themselves from the disease market, insecurity market, drug trafficking, and also to free themselves from social welfare. The government perceives this law as a costly revolution, therefore they perceive it as threatening. They don't really understand what is this about. And if I have 2 more minutes, I'd like to finish, 5 minutes, right. I'd like to finish with a story that will tell us about what emotional education is. So this is a story that I call the fisherman's story. Probably some of you already know fisherman's story. Once upon a time, there was a fisherman walking by the river looking for a place where to sit and start fishing. Suddenly, he saw somebody who was in the water waving his arm and shouting for help. So our fisherman dropped all his stuff and ran to help that guy that was drowning. And so he rescued him. But before the rescue person could tell what happened to him, they saw 2 other guys drowning in the river. So they decided to help them too. And they did. But strangely, after a few seconds, now there were 5 people drowning. Strangely, the amount of people was increasing, right? So there were 5 people drowning. So they all together went to help them too. But after a few seconds, the number kept on increasing, and there was a point when not all the drowning people could be helped. there was some of them that passed through, and only God knows what happens to them. So one of them said, "Hey, what's going on? What is the problem?" So two of them said, "We are going to walk up the river to see what's the problem." And so they start walking and running. They ran until they got to where the problem was. It was easy. There was a bridge that had no railings and had many holes through which people fell. So they decided to do something clever. They decided to teach the people how to cross the building. They couldn't fix the building. So they taught the people how to cross the building. They also gave them some abilities to float and to swim, just in case they fell in the river. So this way they decreased the number of drowning people, and the rescue team was able to be enough. End of story. In this metaphor, I try to represent the main idea of emotional education. We want to go up to the childhood, give them some abilities, some skills they will use in life. Before they fall in drugs, they fall into crime, into suicide, and so many other things. So I told you, it's not a therapeutic strategy, it's an educational strategy. We will work with healthy people, with children, before they get in troubles. That's our idea, and we know we can do that because it's been proven, and I'm working with many schools. We got great results, but what we really need is to have this law in order to be a systemic change. So that's it, my friend. Thank you very much. Thank you. There's one more thing I want to say before we go to the asking time, or how you call it? Okay. all the ones who has a profile in Facebook, please follow Emotional Education. We got over 5 million followers. We are pretty proud about it. That's my email. And also you can see my TED Talk, and that is also subtitled, one of them, and you can learn a little bit more about it. So my dream is you to go back to your country and take this idea for sharing. Probably we can do it in some other countries, not only Argentina and Mexico. Okay.
Okay, so it's time for questions. If you have one, raise your hand and wait until a member of the organizing team gives you a microphone. Before you ask your questions, please say your name and nationality. Also, remember to be brief so that everyone has a chance to ask questions.
I'm Camila from Argentina. I wanted to ask you about the little girl syndrome. If you could develop a little bit more on the idea, that I think it's one of the problems we're having in the educational system and at home. Thank you.
Yes, I'm working really hard with that, and it's not that I want